Sukhoi Su-7 fitter. This is a 2-sheet model. We have this first sheet that has the fuselage parts on it, and we've got the tail parts, we've got the canopy, and another part of the nose. And we have a second sheet that's got our wings and some ordnance and a launch hook and a strut for the inside of the wings. And that's it. This is actually a very easy, simple airplane. It flies fantastic. This is a good starting model if you want to put one together and you haven't tried one yet. To build one of these, you will need some scissors. You will need some glue. This glue is what I recommend. This stuff is fantastic. It gets sticky without getting soggy. An X-Acto knife I would recommend for using to cut the wing holes. You can actually put the whole airplane together with this, but there are some safety considerations. And you will also need tape to stick down your paper clip into the nose in order to balance it. So to start out, we want to cut out these parts. I'll start with this one right here in the middle. And here's our fuselage. This does not fold anywhere. This rolls up into a tube. What really helps is if you have this on the end of a desk, you can kind of roll it against the edge here, and that will put a curl into the paper, and it wants to curl up. So now we have this. It wants to be a cylinder. We're going to put glue on the stripy part and completely cover it up, and that will give us a cylinder of the right size. So this is the front end right here with the canopy mounts. It's kind of hard to tell front and back of this. There is a difference. It's slightly bigger in the back than it is in the front. Okay, next is the nose cone. This also makes a cylinder like this. It helps if you put it at the end of the table and curl it like that. Now it wants to be a cylinder. Now the next step is we want to glue this. So put a couple of tiny drops and smear them around. Now before we put this in, there's another part that's got to go in. We have this shock cone. So this is a cone, and we want to curl it up on the edge of the table. So this is a nose cone. Now, you don't have to do this, but it does make your airplane a lot more durable, and that's to take some tape. I'm going to put some tape on the front of the cone like this. And I'm going to wrap it around, and it'll make this paper a lot more durable because this airplane is going to hit things with this nose, and we don't want this to crumple up all that much. Then the next step is we're going to cut on these marks right here. And what this does is these guys can bend, so this can fit inside and it will match, get in there, and it will match the inside. So first we're going to put some glue right here. Just a little drop in each little piece here. We want this seam to line up with this seam. They're both on the bottom. Make sure it's straight and it's round. We will set this aside to dry. This piece is going to go right here, about like that. But before we do this, we have to know, how are you going to cut the wing holes in the airplane? If you're going to use an X-Acto knife, no problem. An X-Acto knife can just cut this hole through here and is easy. If you don't have an X-Acto knife for safety or other reasons, you don't want to attach this piece now. I'll show you why. I can cut this with a pair of scissors. The problem is that you got to get these jaws in here somehow. And the way to do it is to kind of drill. What I'm going to do is, with my finger inside the model, I'm going to put the corner of the jaws of the scissors here and I'm going to kind of drill. Now, I'm pushing against my finger. I'm not going to cut my finger. I'm not going to do that. But I need that resistance there. If I just push on the model, well, it's going to crush the paper. I'm going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing until it rips all the way through the plane and whatever's behind it. I've got my finger here and I'm going to drill. And once those jaws are in there, it's a little easier. And I can just kind of nibble away. We don't want to cut this whole thing off here. We want to bend it. We want to bend it on this line because this makes a wonderful tab to apply glue to hold our wing in place. So we will fold both of these out. We now have a wing hole to slide the wings through, and then we can go ahead and put this on. This piece is going to go right here. And these tabs are going to cover up these shaded parts. So I'm going to put some glue right here. There's some glue in this shaded area. And or put it on the back side of the tabs. Either way works. And we leave these tabs alone for now. It's easier to argue with only 2 tabs than it is to try to argue with 4 tabs. Once these are dry, we can sneak some glue under there and hold those down. Next is the tail cone. This is just like the nose cone, but it goes on the back end of the airplane. The tail cone also wants to roll up. And like the other two, it's easier if you roll this on the end of the table like this. While we're waiting, we'll glue this piece. This seam is on the bottom of the airplane. This area is for the tail fin. You want the tail fin to go up. This goes on the same way. We can sneak some glue under here. And put some glue under this tab also. If you have a pencil, you can put a pencil in and push down on this tab and make sure that tab seats. Hold it down for a couple of seconds, make sure the glue soaks into the paper fibers and sets. And then we can get this one on the bottom also. The pencil here gives you something to push against. So we've got a canopy front and a canopy back. We've got some blue lines here that tell us to fold up. Like other curved parts, this helps by rolling it on the edge of your desk to put a natural curve in it. And then we can fold up on these blue lines, and that gives us our weird canopy shape. Looks like a bump. And this is ready to stick onto the front of our airplane fuselage. The bottom piece does the same thing. Here's our rear canopy. We'll put some glue here and here, and we're going to put this tab here, and this tab here is going to bump up like that, and that makes a glass part where the pilot sits. 1 or 2 drops, smear it around. We don't need a lot of glue. And we want to cover up that area there. Hold that for a couple of seconds. And then we're going to move it around. Let's take this one down. So it's going to be flat here. It's going to come up here. And it's going to be round. Okay. If I put these tabs down, they're going to cover up half of the India rondel here. So I'm going to peel these back a bit, and then I'm going to glue this down and put that on top. See, and the canopy looks like this. So now I'm going to put some glue under here. And some glue here. And put that down, and put that down. And this is our fuselage. Now we're going to go put the tail in. Okay, now this has some folds in it. A yellow fold means we fold like this. A blue fold means we fold up like this. And there's a couple ways to do this if you're having a hard time folding accurately. One way to fold is to pinch one side of it and then pinch the other side of it. And if we pull it tight, we can go pinch, 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 pinch. And that will give you an accurate fold. This is, both sides are the same. So if we fold it like this, we can cut out both sides at the same time like a Valentine's Day heart. Both sides are the same. Now to fold these up, we can do the same thing. We can roll it up until we pinch it. Roll it up and pinch it. We can also lay it flat on the ground and fold it over. That's another way to get a good fold. And now we've got a fin with some feet that stick out. We can put glue on this and stick it onto the fuselage. First though, we don't want this flapping open, so we'll put a couple of drops in here. If we use too much glue, it might wrinkle up and cause the plane to fly all strange, so we want to use a little bit of glue. We're going to put some glue on the feet. Make sure you get the edges and the corners. Like this is good. We can smear around a little bit, and this goes right here. You see the camouflage pattern even lines up. So here's our tail. Now these guys have a sneaky line right here. If you fold exactly on this line, I can cut out both horizontal stabilizers at the same time. We're going to cut this thing last because that's what's holding these two together. Now I've got them both. Another way to fold is to get a ballpoint pen and draw right where you want it to fold. It's got to be a ballpoint pen, and a straight edge helps also. So the paper's been dented, and it's going to fold exactly where it's been drawn. If you're having a hard time folding accurately, this is actually a pretty good way to do it. So this one goes on the right of the airplane. A couple drops of glue, hold it shut. Now we can tell this goes on the right because the camouflage matches and this airplane is blue on the bottom. If you put it on the wrong side, it's kind of obvious that it's on the wrong side. And here's our fuselage with the tail. Here's our fuselage. Now we need to cut a hole here to slide the wings into. If you have an X-Acto knife, it's easy. I can just cut right through it like this. I don't want to cut the whole thing out. I'm just going to kind of just touch it. If I do that, this will just naturally fold right where I touched it. And this is a wonderful little thing to put glue on to hold the wing in place. Why don't we cut these before we roll it up? You could, except that if these are cut and you try to roll it, it's going to want to do some strange things as you roll it up. It's better to actually roll it up and then cut the holes once it's together as a cylinder. Okay, now here's our wings. These have some folds on them, here and here and here. This is where you want to be accurate. So I'm going to use a ruler with this, and before I cut it out, I'm going to line that up right against that yellow dotted line. I don't have to press hard. I don't even need a pen that works. I just need to kind of dent the paper so it'll want to fold there. Alright, these have all been drawn on. I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing out. Make sure you cut these little notches out of here or it won't fold right. There we go. Now we're going to fold this, and we're going to fold this, and then we're going to fold this stripy part up, and this stripy part will fold up, and this stripy part will fold up. This part of the wing is actually bigger than this part of the wing. This piece does stick out a tiny little bit, not a lot on this model. If you line up this edge and this fold, this is going to bump up and make a proper wing shape. But we want to hold this in place, so there's a piece we got to put in, and that's this piece. This is going to roll up into a little rod. This corner makes it easy to get it started. And you can just roll the thing up like this. Now, we don't even need to put some glue in there. All I do is bend it in half and mash it. And this thing is actually pretty sturdy. It can also help roll these across the edge of the table. So I'm going to put some glue on here. And I'm going to put this right inside the airplane like that. This is going to keep my wing from bending. It's also going to prevent this from flattening all the way down and losing our wing shape. Now I'm going to put some glue here. We really need it just at the edge, is all we need it. Then we're going to fold this down until it covers up the stripy part. Now it's important to do this on a table. If we do this in the air, we can end up with a twist in our wing, and that will not let our airplane fly. If we do this on the table like this, it keeps everything nice and straight and flat on the bottom. And as you can see, we have a really good wing. It is flat on the bottom, it is curved on the top. This is going to generate lift. Now we're going to put this into the fuselage. Notice it's blue on the bottom. If you put it upside down, it's going to be obvious. There we go. Camouflage pattern should match. Make sure this thing is straight. And then we're going to sneak some glue under here to hold that wing in place. And here we go. The airplane is finished. We're going to add a few more things to it first though. Alright, we've got some ordnance we can put under the wings. Now if you've got the easy lines on, it only lines up for these bombs. The rocket pods are skinnier and so they don't line up anymore. But they all work the same way. These are going to go underneath the wings. There's a blue line that's hard to see on the blue bottom of the airplane. But we're going to draw on all those lines with a pen, and it's going to make it a lot easier to build. Now that I've drawn them all, I can fold them and cut both sets out at the same time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this down and fold this up, and we have one bomb with feet, and it shares a foot with this other bomb. So we have a double bomb thing, and the double bomb thing is going to go right under here. To make this easier to put on, put maybe one drop of glue in here. Just enough to hold these bombs shut. Then we can put some glue here. Now there's no mounting area here because you may not want to put bombs under the wings, but if you look at the patterns of the seams, they should all line up. So there we've got a pair of bombs under one wing. At 2,000 kilos worth of bombs. Now the last thing we're going to put on here, you don't need to. You could just put a paper clip in the nose for balance and just hand throw it. But for the full potential, you want this. This is going to fold a little strange. This is a kind of a weird looking piece of paper. If you fold it in half, the symmetry will allow you to get both pieces at the same time. So we're going to fold it in half the other way, and we're going to fold it down on these two lines and up on these two lines. And we have a weird little zigzag thing like this. We're going to put some glue, one drop here, and one drop in the middle here. And then we're going to hold it together like that for a minute. So this is a hook, and we're going to put a rubber band on there, and this is now 4 layers of paper, so it's pretty strong. We're going to put this on the bottom of our airplane, Right about here is good. So you get a rubber band, this is a big one, and you hook it here, and then I can pull back and then let go, and it will catapult the airplane. Now we can kind of grab this inside here to pull back. If you grab it here, we'll pull the airplane's tail off. But if we really wanted something easier to hold on to, we can get a piece of paper and stick it on here. So here's a little piece of paper. Put some glue here. This does not need to be very long. It just needs to be big enough you can kind of grab it like that easily. Right now it's tail heavy. It needs to balance right about here. And see if I can balance my fingers, the tail just drops. We need the center of lift to be the same as the center of gravity. So we're going to add some weight in the nose, and we're going to do that with a paper clip. We want these little guys like this. I like the vinyl kind because the tape sticks to them a little bit better. They don't fly off. We'll tape this right about here. Now the airplane balances about like that. Kind of balances. Now we're going to launch this, and we're going to hand throw this, and we'll see what it does. All right, we can test throw this thing. Hold it right about there, and we're going to see what it does. If it goes and can climb by itself, and then slow down and come down, that's perfect. It should be able to curve up under its own power. As it loses speed, it loses lift, and will drop back down. That's exactly what you want. If it goes up and drops, two things. We can reduce the angle of this, tip these down a little bit more. But the plane is going to be really, really sensitive, and so it's going to be really hard to do that. It's that the plane is a little bit too light. So you're going to want to move this thing forward. So you'd want to cut the tape, move it forward, and tape it back down, and it'll be a little bit more nose heavy. So that's generally what you'd want to do. If it can't climb, if it just goes down, you're either too heavy in the nose, or we could move these up a bit. You move these up a bit, and it might be perfect the way it is. The way you can tell is if you fly it upside down. If you fly it upside down, and it still goes like this, well, then you're too heavy. If it goes up like that, well, that's a steering problem, and you got to move these back up. Okay, now to throw an airplane, you're going to push it in a straight line and let go. It's not like a baseball. You're not going to huck it as hard as you can. It doesn't work that way. You're going to push and let go. We'll see what this one does. Okay, that looked like it was okay. It did climb up, and then the wind kind of slowed it down, and then it dropped. So I think this is ready for a test launch with a rubber band. So we'll hook it like this, pull it back a little bit, and